"Sir, if my mom isn't waking up," the little girl whispered. The CEO froze and said, "Take me to her." The little girl stood in the lobby like a ghost no one expected. People rushed past her, phones ringing, heels clicking, voices bouncing off the glass, walls, until she whispered, the one line that shattered the entire building's rhythm. "Sir, my mom isn't waking up." Her voice trembled, barely sound at all, yet it sliced straight through the noise and into him. Marcus Halverson, the CEO known for firing executives with less emotion than a machine, turned sharply. For a moment he thought he imagined her, this small, pale child gripping a frayed backpack. But then her eyes lifted to his, wide, terrified, begging, and everything inside him locked. No one approached her. No one dared to touch the man she was clinging to with her fragile voice. Marcus slowly crouched, the movement oddly stiff, like his body wasn't built for gentleness. "Where is your mother?" he asked. She pointed toward the revolving doors with a shaking hand.
"She's outside. She fell."
"I tried shaking her, but she won't get up. Please, I don't know what to do." She blinked, away tears she didn't have the strength to let fall. Marcus straightened. "Take me to her." The order came out low, absolute. The guard stepped back instantly. The girl ran and he followed, the sound of his expensive shoes pounding, the marble echoing behind her small steps. They burst outside into the morning chill. She led him behind the towering building, down a narrow side path slick with rain, and there, slumped beside a concrete wall, lay her mother unconscious, drenched, barely breathing. He dropped to his knees, ignoring the mud splattering his suit. "Ma'am," he muttered, checking her pulse. It fluttered faintly, too faintly. The girl tugged his sleeve. "Please don't let her die," she whispered. "You look like someone who saves people." How wrong she was. If she knew the truth, if she knew what he had failed to save long ago, she would never have approached him. He lifted the woman, her head resting against his chest. "Your name?" he asked the child. "Lena, and Mama is Elena." The name struck him unexpectedly, stirring memories he'd buried under work, power, and distance. He carried Elena to his car, ordering his driver out and sliding behind the wheel himself. Lena clung to the seatbelt, eyes squeezed shut, whispering desperate little prayers as he ignored every stoplight. At the hospital, nurses rushed her into emergency care. One nurse gasped, "Sir, she works here. She's one of our night shift emergency nurses." Marcus's stomach twisted. A woman who saved others for a living, and she nearly died alone behind a skyscraper. Hours passed. Doctors spoke in tense, clipped voices. Severe exhaustion, infection, organ stress. She may not wake soon. Lena curled into one of the cold hallway chairs, shaking. Marcus removed his coat and draped it around her. When she leaned against him, head on, his arm, something inside him, cracked wider. Her trust was terrifying and strangely sacred. He stayed. For reasons he couldn't name, he stayed. At dawn, machines still beeped around Elena's motionless body. Lena slept fitfully beside Marcus, occasionally murmuring for her mother. He didn't leave to eat, drink, or rest. He only stared through the glass. Windowless memories he had locked away crept out like shadows, memories of a night when he lost someone because he wasn't fast enough, strong enough, human enough. Suddenly a nurse shouted, "She's stirring." Lena jolted awake and darted to the glass. Elena's fingers twitched. Her eyelids fluttered. A nurse gently lifted her head. "Elena, can you hear me?" Her lips parted. The room filled with soft gasps as she whispered, "Lena?" Lena burst into relieved sobs. Marcus stepped inside the room before he could remind himself. He had no right to be there. Elena's eyes flickered weakly toward him. Confusion crossed her face. You're Marcus Halverson." Her voice rasped. "You carried me?" He nodded once. "Your daughter came to me." Lena grabbed her mother's hand. "He didn't leave us, Mama. He stayed the whole night." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "I didn't think anyone would stop. I thought I might disappear and no one would even notice." Marcus's jaw tightened. He had built an empire where everything was noticed. Stock prices, acquisitions, failures, but somehow, a woman saving lives for minimum wage could collapse in an alley without anyone seeing her. He turned to leave, feeling unsteady, but Elena whispered, "Wait." He froze. Nobody told him to wait. She looked at him with a softness that terrified him more than any corporate war. Why did Lena choose you? She asked. Lena answered quietly. Because Mama always taught me. When you're really scared, look for someone who looks like they survived scary things. Marcus swallowed hard. His throat ached. Elena reached out faintly. You saved my life, she murmured. I don't know how to repay that. You don't need to, he said. But even he heard the tremor in his voice. Will you visit us again? Lena asked with fragile hope. Marcus opened his mouth to speak the safe, distant answer he always used. But something in Elena's exhausted, grateful eyes stole the lie from him. Yes, he said instead. I'll come back. Elena's eyes softened, as though she saw the broken places he had hidden from the world. Marcus stepped back, heart pounding with an unfamiliar fear. Fear of wanting to stay. Fear of needing to return. Fear of what these two fragile strangers were slowly pulling him into. As he walked down the hallway, staff whispering his name in shock, he realized something that rattled him to the core. He wasn't walking away from them. Not really. Not anymore. For the first time in years, he felt pulled by a child's trust, by a woman's quiet strength, by something warm and painful and alive, inside him. And in that moment he understood his life had already changed. And he wasn't going back. Chapter 3. The hospital discharged Elena 3 days later, though her steps were still unsteady, and her voice carried the softness of someone recovering from the edge. Marcus had visited every day, quietly, without his security team, without reporters, without the armor he usually wore. Each time he entered the room, Lena lit up like a spark catching dry wood. Elena, though still weak, watched him with a strange mix of gratitude and confusion, as if she was trying to understand why a man like him kept showing up. On the third night, when he offered to drive them home instead of letting them take a taxi, Elena hesitated. You've already done so much, she whispered. I don't want to impose your kindness any further. Marcus shook his head. It isn't kindness, he said. It's necessary. He didn't explain what he meant, because he didn't fully understand it himself. They lived in a cramped apartment on the 7th floor of an old brick building, the hallway lights flickering every few seconds. Lena held his hand as if she were guiding him through a labyrinth. When Elena unlocked the door, Marcus paused, startled by the sight inside. A tiny kitchen, a single sofa patched with old fabric, a calendar full of night shifts circled in red ink, medical books stacked beside a broken lamp, a child's drawing taped to the wall with pride. This is home, Lena said brightly, unaware of the heaviness settling in Marcus's chest. He had built skyscrapers, bought penthouses, lived above the clouds, yet here, in this tired, worn apartment, he felt something he had forgotten existed. Warmth. Elena sank carefully onto the sofa, still exhausted. I'm sorry it's cluttered, she murmured. I've been working doubles for months. Marcus glanced at the thin blanket. The empty refrigerator shelves, the stack of unpaid bills half hidden under a newspaper. His jaw clenched. Elena worked night shifts, saving lives. Yet she lived like this, while men who created nothing were drowning in luxury. Lena tugged his sleeve. Can you stay for a little? Mama likes when someone sits with us. It makes her smile. Her words struck deeper than she knew. Marcus nodded. Elena tried to protest, but her voice was too soft, too tired. Only for a few minutes, she insisted. Those minutes turned into hours. Lena fell asleep with her head on his lap. Elena watched him from the sofa with half-lidded eyes, studying him like he was a puzzle she wasn't sure she had the right to solve. Why are you really here, Marcus? She finally whispered. Men like you don't show up for people like us. He stared at the peeling wallpaper. People like you saved my life long before you ever collapsed, he said quietly. Elena's brows knit in confusion, but he didn't elaborate. He couldn't, not yet. When Elena finally stood to get Lena a blanket, her legs buckled. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground. She gasped softly as his arms steadied her. You're still weak, he murmured. You shouldn't be alone like this. She swallowed hard. I've been alone for a long time, Marcus. It's not something that frightens me anymore, but the trembling in her voice betrayed her. He helped her sit. You don't have to do this. Alone. He didn't realize how fragile the sentence sounded until it left him. Elena looked at him, startled by the vulnerability in his tone. You barely know us, she whispered. You don't owe us anything. His eyes darkened. I owe you more than you know. A sudden loud thud at the door cut the moment short. Elena flinched. Marcus stood instantly, shielding her and Lena with his body. Another thud. A man's voice shouted from the hallway. "Elena, open the door. I know you're in there." Elena's face drained of color. "No, not him," she whispered. Marcus's muscles tightened. "Who is that?" Elena shook her head, trembling. "My landlord. He knows I was in the hospital. He wants the rent. I told him I'd pay at the end of the month, but he doesn't care." The knocking turned violent. Lena whimpered in her sleep. Marcus's voice dropped to a lethal, icy calm. "Stay behind me." He opened the door slowly, but with the authority of someone who never feared confrontation. The landlord, a broad man with a beer belly and harsh eyes, froze mid-swing when he saw Marcus Halverson standing there in a dark coat, jaw set with quiet danger. "Who the hell are you?" The landlord barked. Marcus didn't blink. "The man who is telling you to lower your voice." The landlord scoffed, but his confidence wavered. "Elena owes rent. She thinks she can avoid me. She was hospitalized," Marcus said sharply. "If you raise your voice again or threaten her, we'll settle this legally." The man blanched. "Legal? I didn't threaten." "You did," Marcus said, stepping closer. "And there won't be a second time." The landlord stepped back, suddenly unsure of everything. "Fine, tell her she has 3 more weeks." He turned, muttering, and stomped down the hall. Marcus closed the door quietly. Elena's hands were shaking. "He's harmless," she lied weakly. "He just gets angry." Marcus stared at her. "No one has the right to frighten you." She looked at him, stunned by the fierceness in his voice. "Why do you care so much?" she whispered. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Because someone once needed me, and I didn't get there in time." Elena's eyes softened, realizing the weight behind his rare confession. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "Who was she?" "Someone I loved," he said simply. "Someone I failed." The room fell silent, not cold silence, heavy, fragile, human silence. Elena reached for his hand. "You didn't fail us," she whispered. "You saved us." He tightened his grip gently, unable to let go. As the night deepened, Marcus understood something terrifying. He had stepped into this apartment a stranger, but he was leaving with something far more dangerous than responsibility. He was leaving with attachment, with purpose, with the beginnings of a bond he couldn't walk away from, and he didn't want to. Not anymore.